Great. So, welcome everyone to our monthly My Speaker Business community call. And I couldn't wait to have this very special call today. And I know we have quite a few with us today that have been with us for quite a few times already. But just to remind you, this is our community call for aspiring and already established speakers to get together. And every time we have a previous guest with us who is sharing with us some insights into how to make your speaking business flourish further. Um, and today we have a very special guest, and she is a lady that has built a very special way of running her business. And so today we talk about speaking business lifestyle, how you create a successful business based on your talents and taste. Because as we know, a lot of people work for a living and don't live the life they love. And often our business structure ends up being really a negative choice with pretty draining consequences. But hey, business life and the life of a speaker doesn't have to be this way. So this is why I invited a very special lady today, a great friend of mine. We know each other through a platform called the Network of Transformational Leaders. And she is a spiritual advisor based in Denmark, north of Copenhagen. She is the author of Finding You and also the author of the Danish bestseller, The Millionaire's Method. Oh, it's actually saying the Millionaire's Method, right? It makes it even more special. She really translates spirituality, taking complex material and breaking it down into digestible, easy to follow steps. She really has appeared as an expert in several European media outlets. She has an online salon which provides monthly spiritual insights and deep inspiration. Her approach to spirituality is very practical and results oriented, and she views her life and work as an advanced form of play, which we all love, right? We all love to play, being entrepreneurs, being speakers. Sometimes we take our business far too serious. So, how do you build your speaking business or your business to a next level? And how do you make sure you love your life while building and growing your business? And how do you build it around your talents and in line with the lifestyle you want to live? Christine, it's wonderful to have you with us today. Why don't you just say a few words about yourself and share with us? What do you do, and why is your way of running a business so special as a speaker and as an entrepreneur?
I think a lot of us say that we do like to play, but when I ask people how much do you play every day, it's like a minimum. It's like we postpone so many things because we believe we have all the time in the world. And I know it's like a cliche, but that's what created my success and my own contentment. I began saying yes and no to the right things, and especially saying no and not, filling my life with all of those negative choices. And I think so many of us are so far away from who we are that we don't even know how to play. We don't know ourselves. In Greek, they're famous for saying "know thyself," and it was a big journey for me to get to know the real Christine, because I was brought up, conditioned to go to university. I became very mental, very intellectual, and I'm this creative entrepreneur, and no one taught me, one, that I am that, and two, how do you use that and create a life around that. I'm also very sensitive. I'm very like, I'm an introvert, and I think I could describe myself as a hermit. I don't like to have to put on makeup and be seen. It's something I do once in a while when it feels right and when I feel like there's a purpose around it. But I prefer to be home and just chill. You could call me lazy. I think I'm just very wise. I put in energy when it's needed, and if not, I'm just hanging out and enjoying myself. So so for me, when I began this whole journey around business, I went out and I thought out so many people, and I didn't um, I didn't like what they were saying, but I thought that I had to kind of do what they were saying. So I ended up creating a business that I really I ended up doing lots of extroverted things, and being an introvert, that was not, so-called fun. And I ended up taking a lot of masculine advice from both men and women, and that didn't nurture my sensitive side. So I think that's like the first clue, that we really have to go back to, what brings us joy, and then find the courage to boost that and create a business around that. So for me, I've had many stages in my business. In the beginning, I think I was driving around becoming an expert. So I got a book, and I did a lot of speaking from stages, and a lot of book signings, and a lot of those things. And they kind of taught me that, oh, okay, I have something to share in the world. And I felt like an expert somewhere along that journey. And then I created my own certification program, and that brought me, a lot of recognition. And then I kind of felt like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I don't feel nurtured around that. So I terminated that, and now I've automated my business a lot. So I teach group, but I teach online, and I teach through audio, so I'm not seen, so I get to hide and still make money. I love that. And I don't even have groups on Facebook anymore, because I felt like, it doesn't bring me joy at this point in my life. So I'm just gonna see if I can get away with just one-way communication. So I did that, and people loved it. They were like, I don't have time to look at you anyway, and I want you in my ears so I can do a walk instead, or take care of the kids, or whatever. So I found through my whole journey with business that every time I'm like, oh, can I do that? Is that allowed? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm my own boss, so I'll try it out. And then it turns out even better for everyone. So that's another point, that if it's not good for us, if it's not working out for us, it's not going to work out perfectly for others either. So we might as well just go ahead and be honest about, what do I like, how do I prefer things to be, and then we'll attract people who are into those same things. My oldest daughter, she's a total extrovert. She's 14, and she loves getting up in the morning, putting on makeup, dressing up for all the boys and girls in her classroom. And she would die slowly if no one was there to watch her, So we're very opposite, and we still get to create and design a life that we're nurtured by. And I love that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Christine, and thank you for sharing that so openly, because everyone in this industry, in the speaking and expert industry, is saying you need to do things in this and this and this and this way, and I have the answer, and I have the structure, and if you follow that, you get successful.
Yeah.
But what we often forget along the way is to really look into, who are we? As you said so beautifully, powerfully, what brings us joy? Mm-hmm. What do we enjoy doing? Who are we? Right? Everyone is saying you have to be out there, you have to be on video, you have to run your Facebook groups. And my own experience is, yes, all of these things. You are very much an introvert. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I love to be out there on stage, but then sometimes also I love to be on my own, right? Yeah. So all these things work. I love running Facebook groups. I love, building online products. I love helping people in that way. But that brings me joy, right? And I invited you here today because you are, you're like me. You also say, hey, joy first, right? And making a difference first, and serving others first. And then we are creating a difference. And then we can be a role model to others. And then we can make a difference to others' lives, because you do it in your way, right? Yeah. So do you want to say a little more about how you're running your business today? Because you are still a speaker, you are still an author, you are still supporting others. Yeah. How are you doing it? How are you doing it? And how did you find out what works best for you? so that others can find out for themselves.
Yeah. So I think there are so many phases, and for me, every time there's something I want to learn, or I'm in a growth phase, then I'm excited about something. At some point in my life, it was so exciting to me to teach live, because I wanted to figure out how does this coaching work, and what makes people tick, and what are the interactions, and what, you know, when people say this and that, why does that make me feel this and that? So I had so much to learn in that arena. So at that time, it was wise to set up a lot of live teachings. And I also learned so much managing my groups on Facebook. And that was like the written version of the same thing. And then I felt like I need a break, and people were like, well, you can't do that, because then you're going to lose all your customers, you can't make money, all this and that. And I think I'm an innovator and a pioneer. That's something about me too that I learned along the way. So when people say I can't do something, I know that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So so now I'm in this phase of no longer and not yet. I think everything is pointing to the fact that I need to take my stuff out in English and go international, as they say. And I've been having a lot of resistance around that. So I have needed a lot of alone time, you know, walks in the woods, all of that. So I just figured, you know, let me do my teachings online and then have a lot of time for myself. And then I think I'll may go through a phase where I do stages around the world a little bit again. And you know, I love that we can have these seasons in life. And I see so many of my clients, they're fighting their own seasons. I see young mothers, they're like all about spending so much time away from their kids. And I'm like, well, it's not the season for you. You know, you don't need the guilt, you don't need to blame yourself. It's just the season of being with young kids. And then later on, you'll have a different season. So when we honor that, we're so much more connected with our own joy. And I think there are so many cookie cutter versions of businesses. Like you said, we need to do this and that. And I'm very low tech. So I don't, even this Zoom thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, everyone's looking and I see them, and you know, the whole thing can crash. So, and I'm a perfectionist too. And I'm not spontaneous. So I'm this planner, and I like things to be structured. So I record all of my stuff, and I don't do any live webinars. And I don't do any live Facebook, whatever, because I would hate that. So my stuff is edited, there's music, and you know, it's all about what do you like, and what stresses you out, and why does it stress you out. Another thing I don't like, and I figured all this out by trying stuff. So that's another clue. You really need to try stuff out, and not in the intellectual, mental way where you read 180 books and listen to all kinds of stuff and never walk the walk, you know, on the physical plane in real life. So I've learned so much by trying stuff on, and it's like trying clothes on. You get to figure out, do I like this? Is it too soft? Is it too scratchy? You know, how does it fit me? So another thing I really do not like is having a launch. The whole anticipation and the build up, everything in my system is very stressful. So of course, in the beginning of my career, I tried out the launches, and I thought, you know, that's what people do when they have a certification or a big online product that they want to sell. And it was just very stressful. So that walking that walk and having that experience showed me and pointed me in the direction of automation. And that's totally something I'm all about. So my membership site is an automated version of my business. I do one video, it's pre-recorded, pre-edited. I can take out everything that I don't like and all the mistakes I make. And it goes out to a lot of women in Denmark. And then every first of the month I get all these payments. And, you know, to me, that's a very cool business strategy. And content is not a problem for me. I love to create content. It flows through me. I channel most of my stuff. So for some people, creating content would be terrible. They would hate it, and they would hate a business around having to create content in order for that automated business. And I also, my online program this year is also automated. It's like 12 payments, and you know, I get to teach a little bit, and then I think I'm less than the 4-hour work week by now. I do 2 videos each month and 1 newsletter each month, and that provides me with, you know, more than enough income for my hibernation phase in this stage.
That is beautiful. A lot of people probably just say right now, oh my God, I just want to be there overnight, right? Maybe just snip my finger and get myself there. And, you know, I have my membership out there, and I have my automated program out there, and I can just collect money for living every month. That's beautiful. That sounds like a great business concept to have. But as you said, you've been through a lot of phases, right? Would you mind giving us a little more insights into what were those phases, and what were the key learnings you took away from these phases? So that once people see what phases you went through, and what questions you asked yourself, and maybe what doubts you went through, or what frustrations, because every learning is not always a, you know, hallelujah kind of learning, but sometimes it's also a little bit painful. You know, how did you go through these different phases, and what learnings did you have, and what questions did you ask for yourself, and how did you deal with these doubts and frustrations, and how did you, I mean, it's probably 20 questions in one, but maybe just give us a little more about what was your journey, what did you learn along the way to get to where you are today?
I've come up with 3 phases, and it's all in my latest book, and that's in English. It's like the 3 phases of evolution. Phase 1 is a phase where we're not really asking too many questions. We're not that evolved and not very conscious. So it's the apple is very close to the tree. We're doing pretty much what our parents taught us, or culture, or society. If you do make a business in that first phase, it's going to be a business that's probably been handed over from your family, or something you were taught in business school. It's not something you've like, you're not very conscious around that whole phase. So in that phase, there's a lot of victim, and there's a lot of blaming, and there's a lot of feelings around you don't really know why you're where you're at. It was just handed to you. And before becoming a mother, before having a business, that was the phase I was in. And then you begin asking, you know, is this all there is to life? Could things be different? And that will put you in phase 2. So that's the whole self-help movement. You're all about, can I change my income? Can I change the way I live? Some people begin taking courses, and they have success, and they're like, oh, I can change my income. Some people even make their yearly income their monthly income. That's what I did. And it's like a very thrilling phase with so many revelations, and you're changing so much. Some people change their body in this stage. They change the way they decorate their house or whatever. It's just a phase where you're all about, oh my God, I get to do this on my terms. I get to change stuff. And you begin to understand in this phase that you become more and more aware. So you become conscious that around the fact that we do have a say in what we're creating. And you also begin taking back responsibility. So you understand, if I want to make more money, then I need to tweak stuff. I need to help people with their problems or whatever, sell stuff to them. begin understanding I need to build a list because I need someone to see me. So you begin to take more and more responsibility for those things. Consciousness and responsibility equals power. So in this second phase, there's so much power to be gained, and people are just, I mean, in the spiritual circles, this is where they create a vision board and they're freaking out. They're like, oh my God, I manifested this trip to whatever. And, you know, it's a very cute and lively phase. And then at some point along this phase, there's like a divide. Some people stay here. Other people, they begin asking, you know, could I just skip everything and enter a phase where I'm just a being, where you know, everything I want is something I'm able to manifest, where I can be totally free, and where I'm just basically being. I don't have to do all these things. So in that phase, we become all about knowing ourselves and creating a life around that. And it's really, our business is like a version of us. So it's like, it's not something we have to do, and we're not in this codependency around everything. There are no rules except the rules we make, pretty much. So that's the phases I went through, and I see that in order to get to the last phase, phase 3, you need to master making money, and you need to master your health, and you need to master, you know, nurturing relationships. Otherwise, you're still in that phase of learning and growing, and it's not about going through the phases fast, and you can stay in whatever phase you're at, and that's perfect. But you'll gain more and more freedom as you move along those phases. So for me, going from phase 2 to phase 3, I discovered that I had created this codependency in my business. It was like I was a mother to a lot of my clients, and I got a lot out of that mothering role. So terminating groups, the hand-holding, the whole me having to nurture everyone, that was a big thing for me. And it was like my last thing before I could, you know, be just Christine and act from freedom. So now I'm all about, you know, is this something I would do just because it's something that lights me up? And if not, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to make a plan to kind of get out of it. It is a lot of work getting from phase 1 to 3. And like you said, if you're in the beginning, I'm in a beginning stage now because my list in English is very small. And that's been part of my resistance. Like, do I even want to do this so-called all over again? And I'm just going to have to play my way around creating that list and doing it in a fun way and in a way that will light me up. Yeah.
Ah, sounds amazing. I mean, I could ask you a gazillion question out of that, to be honest, listening to you.
Yeah.
It's you know, a lot of speakers here in this community, and that's only an assumption. Maybe let's open also the space, and let's ask everyone here, where do you see yourself, and which of these phases do you feel you are at this point? Shall we hear from some of them? Where are you? Sabine, you raise your hand. And everyone that would like to contribute something, just unmute yourself for the moment so that I can hear you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Christine for sharing your personal story. So this is really beautiful to see that everyone can find his place in the world. That is really an authentic match. And I was thinking about this just this weekend. I did do an intensive with a woman in Rome. I'm a facilitator, and I created a very special format. And we had one day where we worked in a bikini on the beach. And it was just fun. And so what I can feel is that you really talk to my heart. And it's like, you know, I'm kind of a thing in between. I like to be with people, but I have difficulties with groups, and I'm not that technological person that wants to be in Facebook all the time. So actually this kind of drains my energy out. And hearing your personal story and hearing, hey, it's possible to do that in a completely different ways. It's like, yoo-hoo! You know, and I would like to have really incredible clients all over the world and work in 5-star places, but with very individual people, and not drain myself out with talking to 1,000 people that I don't know, and kind of create groups and stuff like that. So it's really inspiring that you shared your story. So thank you very much for that. It was like, yeah, it's possible. I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's another thing I discovered along my journey. I'm all about 5-star luxury living too, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do VIP days and I'm going to help these women in these beautiful surroundings. And then I figured out, oh no, I don't want to share the space with anyone but my husband and my kid. So I was like, oh, okay, then VIP days may not be for me. So that's how I came up with let me do groups, and then I can make money and then do, you know, the luxury things by myself. I'm all about the private pool and the, you know, being all by myself. And I felt so wrong for it. And I felt like, oh my goodness, I'll never succeed in business because, you know, I'm not cut out for it. And I am. It's just a very different version of business than I was taught.
Well, what I can share from my personal story, I think I'm between step 2 and 3 at the moment. And it's nice to have these steps and kind of identify yourself where you are. And I really found that as soon as I just put my intention there and also my expectation, kind of now I expect to have the clients that have the money to pay me, instead of before I thought, oh, where do I get them? And I had all these worries about. And now it's different. So it's really when you put your head around it and your heart around it, then you can really create what you want exactly the way you want it. But you have to get rid of, and this is great that you said that in the first step, over that stuff that people hand over to you, or your conditioning and all these kind of things, and be completely authentic, because when you're not authentic, you don't know what you want, and then you can't create it. So it's really cool. Yeah. It's a pleasure to have listened to your story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Anyone else that would like to share how this touches you or what's going through your mind and heart? Okay. Others are still digesting, Christine. But maybe we could talk about, you know, how did you, you know, a lot of people also wonder, so, how, you know, one way is really finding out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So you are someone, as I know, you're very much observing when you're in groups. You're a very wise lady that whenever you say something, it's always making a difference, right? And you just love to share your wisdom from a quiet space, right? You know, and that's the right way for you. And for me, it's also, I love to share with a lot of people. And I love to do it also in an automated way, but at the same time, I'm also someone, like last week, I was at a Women Economic Forum in Delhi, and guess what? It was a conference with about 2,000 people, and I was running, you know, I loved it. I birthed in the mass of people, right? You know, I also love to be in workshops with 10, 20, 50 people, and I was even running a couple of, you know, individual gatherings with, you know, 20, 25 people. Some even shared between online and offline. So I love to create these spaces, and I love to be with people, but we all need to find out what works for us. In what way do we work best? And I love how you're encouraging here everyone to find out what is your way of working? What is your way of being? Who are you? You know, what gets that fire ignited inside of you? What gets your juices flowing? What gets your wisdom coming through you? As you're saying, Christina, you're channeling your wisdom. It's kind of coming through you, and you're just sharing it with the world, right? And that is a very easy, effortless way of supporting others, namely women in Denmark right now. That's your focus right now. But you also said that Now you think about going international and you think about building your empire in English, and you still have resistance with that and doubts, and saying, wow, building it all again, it's still kind of an effort. It will take time. Is that an investment I want to make? Why don't you share with us and everyone here, how did you build your first platform? What did you learn along the way? How did you bring it to a point where you have quite a few people following you and a few women signing up to your membership, in a way that you can live from that, in your beautiful business setup? How did you build that? How did you go about it? What did you learn along the way? And how would you do it even more powerful when you do it now in the English speaking market?
Hmm. So my first business was it was actually a business I shared with another woman here in Denmark, and we wrote the Millionaires Method in that business, and ended up creating the Millionaires School, and that was teaching women how to have more time and more money. And she's very spontaneous and very extroverted, and I had so much self-doubt. So I thought, I'm wrong, she's doing it right, so I need to adapt to whatever she's doing, because there's something wrong with me, and in order for me to have success, I need to kind of do things that I don't want to do. So we did a lot of speaking events. We did a lot of spiritual fairs, where we were having like this little booth, and people would come up to us. And I was completely drained even before the fair began. And she was loving it. She was networking, having the time of her life, putting on her lipstick. And I felt like, where can I hang myself? Where can I sneak away and never do this again? So that business was pretty much built by me doing all the things I didn't want to do. Basically, we did a lot of also webinars where the technical things went wrong, and I learned so much. And I think my low point was at a big conference in Stockholm where we were having 700 women, and I was in the bathroom, and I was thinking, this is a shit show, and I can't take on the world with this, having to do all these things that I don't like. So I kind of understood at that point that I needed to know myself. I needed to understand why it wasn't working, and why I didn't like the things I was doing, and if you could do things differently and still have success. At that point, I thought, success is something you can achieve, but you have to do so many things that you don't want to do. So I was debating, is it even worth it? Should I just become this stay-at-home mom, take care of my 3 kids, and not be in that arena? So I spent a lot of work, and in the beginning I thought, I have stage fright, so I need to work on that. So I ended up in all these courses, and they were horrible. I was made to sing on stage and dance and do all kinds of things that I really hated. And along the way, I understood, maybe I'm not afraid of this. Maybe I don't need to be taught how to be on stage. Maybe I just need to have this fear transformed. So I began doing a lot of inner work, and I began looking at all these spaces inside of me where I was afraid to be heard and seen. So now I'm in a place in my life where I'm not afraid to be on stage. I'm not afraid to be heard and seen, and I don't have any shame around being me. But often I don't have to now. So I think that's cool too, is really understanding that. So with my second business, I terminated the business I had with my coworker or friend, and with my second business, I pretty much took out everything that I didn't like. So I began, I love to do newsletters. I know some people hate it. For me, I love it. I write them from my bed, and I love graphics. I love beautiful photos. I'm all about Instagram. So I always have a lot of photos to put into my newsletter, and I love writing. So I began just writing and sharing my story, and I began blogging about the spiritual principles that I also loved, and that I studied all the time anyway. And then I began selling first like a one-day workshop, and all I did in my newsletter was saying, you know, here's a free tip on this and that, and I have a workshop next Tuesday or whatever. And then that kind of grew, and my audience grew, and I just kept sharing content. So I think that's a big thing with marketing. It comes down to who do we want to help to solve their problems? And it's always people who are experiencing problems that we have solved for ourselves, and they're like a little bit behind us, but not too much. So it's very easy for us to help them. So I began sharing around my stage fright and how I had transformed it. I began sharing stuff around, you know, how I was an introvert and how it had helped me. And I began attracting these very sensitive souls, lots of introverts, but also lots of extroverts that were like feeling shameful around, you know, taking up too much space or talking too much or wanting to be seen all the time. So I was just, it was like drawing in the people that were needing to learn from me pretty much. And then when I had enough courage, I created a whole education and a certification program around my spiritual findings. And we would videotape me, and it was supposed to just be shared with the attendees for the certification. So if they didn't have the time to show up that day, they could get a recording. And then my husband, he does all of my editing. He was like, you should really like do small clips of your teachings, like 3 minutes here and 5 minutes there. And I thought, well, I could do that. So I would find, you know, the places where there was like very good nuggets of information. And we began to share those on Facebook. And I thought, that is genius. I don't have to wear makeup. I don't have to wear clothes. I can just repurpose something I've already been paid for and something I've already done. So I would share those clips, and people began noticing me because some people want to see you, and they love the connection, and they're very visual. So I would have a video and then a little text, and it was so easy for me, and it was just one point, one spiritual tool. And I would share that Friday after Friday after Friday, even though people said, oh, you should never do your newsletter on a Friday because everyone is in a big weekend mode and they're not listening. And I felt like, well, Friday is my day. I feel like it's a celebration, and I can say, have a nice weekend. And it was all, you know, fitting into my brand and my way of doing stuff. And I heard so many things about it should come out on a Tuesday at 12 because most people are listening then. And I found out, you know, that's not true. My women, they're opening their emails whenever they have the time, and they'll make, you know, time whenever that suits them. And in that space, they can buy whatever they want, and they're free to, you know, listen. So, so that was what brought me most clients, was sharing good content without the, when we have a business, it's always about making money, but I shared it just because it was good content, and I didn't like care who's buying, who's investing in me. Or some people even wrote me, you know, I've learned so much from just those free videos, and I thought, that's great, you know. So I think giving out freely, but with the strategy and the platform behind it, that those that want to invest in you, they can. So it's all about balance. You give and you receive, and that flow of things is that suits me very well. And then after, I think 7 or 8 years, I felt like every week is too much for me now, because now I'm really in this hibernation phase. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to do it once a month. And again, people were saying, oh, you can't do that, you'll lose customers, this and that. And I didn't. Some people even wrote me and they were like, oh, I love that it's only once a month, because now I really savor it and I read it, and I really, you know, I'm able to implement what you're talking about. So I think the tip is to look for what's working. if it's working for me to do free videos, then, you know, I should do more of that. If it's not working for me to do fairs and speak a lot and go out and mingle, then I shouldn't do that. So that's a clue. You know, does it feel good, and does it work? Does it bring you customers? Does it make sense to do more of that? So I think business for me, like motherhood, is ultimately a spiritual practice where you get to learn so much about yourself. And if you'll stop the game of comparing to others in order to make yourself wrong, you can grow so much. And I can appreciate other businesses and say, you know, oh my goodness, I would hate that, but it's so nice to see that strategy is working so well for them, and it's just not for me.
Beautiful, I love it. And what's really funny, not so much in a way funny, but what's really amazing is often when we do what works for us, it also works for the outside, right? Isn't that funny? It's like magic. It's like when we are in sync, when we're having joy and fun and we make things easy for ourselves, but we go in with it with our whole heart and our whole intention to serve and support, and we open ourselves up and we become vulnerable with our sharings, that's when it works for others as well, right?
Yeah.
Often enough.
I've heard from so many, mainly women, that tends to be my crowd, and they're like, it's like you've given me permission to be me. I'm like, wow, that's huge. That's like even bigger than business. And I think if we give ourselves that permission, then, you know, we can create a business that we're so nurtured by, and it can free up so much time and energy to do other things that we're really nurtured by, and then, you know, it's a win-win-win for everyone. Yeah.
And you said that you have been working on this for quite a while, right? So you built your email list to quite a big number by now, right? How did you go about that? How did you start and how did you nurture it?
It was all about, like I said, sending out content every week. And then when I began, social media was not that big, but at some point, Facebook became big and Instagram for me is big. So it was, I don't like understanding the whole metrics around Facebook advertising. So I delegate that. I'm huge on delegation and not doing things that I don't like. But I think it's fascinating that I can create content and now do ads on that content, and I can reach women all over the world. So I don't even have to go on a fair. I don't have to be on a stage. Facebook can be my stage, or Instagram can be my stage, and I love that. And then of course you need to capture emails, you need to understand the whole marketing, so you have someone to write to when something's up and something's new. And it is a phase of a little bit of, or a lot of overwhelmment. It's not a fun work to do. I think success comes down to repetition, and you know, you need to do stuff again and again and again until you're a little bit bored out of it. But then when you do have that list, at some point, you know, you've created a community and you've created a tribe, and they're writing you back, and then it's like it's a tool for freedom. I really like that. So I just, and that's how I plan to launch my international site, just sharing content, and hopefully that will get to the people who are interested in learning more about what I have to share, and you know, it will be kind of organic in that growth.
Beautiful, and that's exactly what it is, organic growth, right? It's the consistency, it's the regularity. It doesn't, you know, as you say, sharing content every week, having your newsletter out every month, and so on, right? It's just this keep going over time that actually steadily grows it. Because you know, yes, and you say also you're good at delegation. This is yay, spot on. Delegation is key because there's always things, as well as you say, you're also using Facebook ads from time to time and so on, right? But you have other people doing this for you, because you say, hey, I'm going to focus on what am I good at? Where do I contribute most to my business? And you delegate wherever you're not the expert to someone else, which is really an important reminder for everyone here as well. Right?
And I made a lot of mistakes in that whole arena too, because in the beginning I would attract Facebook experts and they would say, oh, if you sell to women, you need to use red in your font because that will make them buy. And I thought my brand is not about red. And I tried it out and they were like coaching me on, you have to say this, you have to have emotional triggers, you need to do that. So I did all of that. And I didn't attract the right people. So again, for the millionth time, I said, okay, I'm just going to do me. And I created my content, my words, and then I began attracting women that were like, oh, I resonate with what you're saying. I can't believe your story is so like my story, you know. So I was like, oh, okay, I need this lesson apparently many times. Because I you know, every time we're doing something that we don't feel skilled at, we tend to look outside of ourselves, and it's really you know, the best choice. It should come from us, and then of course you can delegate the whole technical side of it. Yeah.
Of course, but first of all, you need to actually become your, you know, I mean, first of all, you need to understand who am I authentically myself, and then you speak your own authentic language, and then you share your messages that resonates with people. And I have made a mistake at the beginning as well, that I was, you know, buying contacts on Facebook. That doesn't help you at all, because these people are not engaged. They don't follow you. They don't connect with you. They don't spread it with their network. So you need to actually just be yourself and share what's right for you and do it in your way.
Yeah. And I think business is like, there's a lot of parallels with business and farming, I find. And I don't understand anything about farming, but I do know that you need to find the perfect piece of land. You need to cultivate it. You need sun, water, whatever. You need to figure out, am I doing wine stalks or am I doing carrots or potatoes? And then you need to, you know, plant stuff. You need to nurture it. And you need, you know, there's so many phases. And it comes back to the seasons again. And I think so many people are into the quick fix. They're like, oh my God, I just want to run out to some random field and, you know, say apples for everyone. And, you know, you can't do that. If you have nothing to sell, you don't have anybody to sell to. So I think if you're not into that whole building and cultivating, it would be so much more freedom-based to have a job and to work for someone else's business. And I think that's a great conversation to have, that many people go into business and they're not interested in building. And if you're not, you should really, you know, work for someone who's already got the field, who's already, you know, who's got a lot of potatoes and carrots, and, you know, you can work from there. And that's like an instant thing you can begin working on. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. I just mute myself from time to time because I don't want to interrupt any sound.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes takes a few seconds for me to answer. So Sabine is raising her hand. Do you want to say something, Sabine, or contribute or ask something?
Yeah, well, I think this analogy with the farming is really beautiful, because it makes, even if you don't understand all the details, it makes it kind of logical in it. And I just wanted to say, I was just thinking, I mean, now the second time that you launch internationally, that will be less work though, because you have already a network, and then you can say everyone, oh, I'm doing this now in English, and they will forward it to all their English speaking friends that are waiting there, because so far it was always in Danish, and now they can say, yeah, I can share it with my friends in America or anywhere, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's
of course it's always the first step is always the most difficult one, and then it becomes easier, I suppose.
yeah. I think I've been enjoying this time of hiding a little bit too long, maybe. And you're right. It's going to be so much faster the next time. It's like when you get your second child or the third child, you know what to do a little bit more, and you're not scared as much, and it's a little bit easier.
I can imagine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions? Yes, Helinde.
So first of all, thank you so much. I'm very excited because I'm in transformation right now, coming from the corporate world, and you talk about everything I need, not only today, but in that phase. And for me, I feel quite close to your personal description, like hiding, not so much going out. And so what you say, Christine, if the book was not at the beginning, your journey would have been differently. Like you might have done more stuff you don't like to become more public. So this, I mean, the question is directly, would you say a person like you needs a book at the beginning of his career?
I don't believe we need anything, but I think in the beginning, when we don't know ourselves too much, we need that phase of trying stuff out. And did I need to begin all over again? I would get myself a job, and I would focus on inner work for a long time, maybe a few years basically. And I would do a lot of inner work, and then when I couldn't help myself, then I would launch a business. But that's just my advice for beginning over. We don't need a book, we don't need a podcast, we don't need a stage. We all we need is, who do I want to help, and how what do I want to help them with? And if it's something they want help with, we should just shine so they can find us, basically. So we can't hide like full time, but we can hide behind an audio. And on Instagram, I rarely do selfies. I don't like them. So, but I do photos of places I go to, and so I'm still visible without being visible.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just.
I love it. Thank you.
It's pretty much exactly what you're saying, Erlinde. You want to know, who do you want to serve, what difference do you want to make for them, and how can you best make that difference in line with who you are, right?
Yeah.
You don't, if you like, Sabine also was saying, in what you're saying, you don't love to work with groups so much, right? I love to work with groups. So we all have the perfect playground in the world, right? There is need for people that work with groups, and there's needs for people that work with individuals one-on-one, and there's needs for people that work with small teams, and there's needs for people that work with executive board members, and there's needs for people that just inspire, like what Christine is doing, inspire others by sharing your wisdom from time to time, not from time to time, but pretty regularly, right? Weekly, monthly.
Yeah.
But as Christine is saying, you don't necessarily need to write a book or write a podcast or do something else. But what you want to do is you want to be clear on who you want to serve and go into conversation with them, either online or or one-on-one, or in whatever way or form, to really find out what is it. I mean, Christine has almost 10 years of trying and error now behind her, right? So. And that means that you have probably also tried a lot of things that didn't work, that didn't reach the people you wanted to reach.
Yeah.
Especially when you try to be someone else, right? You were not.
Yeah.
But there's your way, Helen, and everyone, where you need to do something, as Christine was saying, you want to be visible, but if you want to be visible without being visible, there's ways of doing that too, right?
Yeah.
So like Christine, she's not necessarily showing herself in a video, she's using audio or she's writing things. You know, the important thing that I always say is it doesn't matter what you start with, but just start. Share your wisdom. Start either writing or speaking or video recording what's in your mind and heart. And get that out on a regular basis, because that is what Christine is saying. That is when things start getting juicy. That is when you can take the pressure of you having to run after people and where people start coming to you because they resonate with your message.
Yeah.
No matter if it's in a written word or spoken word or video typed word or on stage or any other way. Well, what we need to find out is, who are we? What do we love doing? Maybe we just love to, you know, like Christine is saying, she's sending her newsletters from her bedroom, right? I love that, right? It doesn't matter what we do as long as we do it, as long as we don't hold back, what I loved, what you were saying, Christine, as well earlier, is you learned not by reading books, or you also did that. You read books and you signed up on programs and you forced yourself to step out of your comfort zone, dancing and singing and whatever else on stage. And you realized again, okay, I'm doing this, but it's not my thing. And it's not because I'm shy, it's because this is not who I am.
Yeah.
Right? And you can only find these things out if you are out there and you are trying. So start writing a few articles and get them out there and see what happens. Or if you don't like to write, then speak, right? I can write, but I'm much better at just spontaneously speaking. And if there's on video, perfect. I love video. Okay, that's why at the moment you see a Facebook Live of me every day on how to boost your speaking on Facebook and other platforms. But again, I know that works for me. So Linda and everyone, it's just you find out what works for you and just do that. But do it consistently and have fun doing it. Yeah. And when you do something and you realize this is not for me, I'd rather like to do something else. I always say this world is, it's an adventure playground.
May I ask how long it takes to understand whether I like it or not? Because sometimes I think it is, you move out of your comfort zone, and that does not mean you don't like it, right?
I'm very logical and very results oriented. I say not the first 30 minutes, if you don't feel a shift, then it's not for you. So when I tried out different types of movement, I tried out running and I hate it. And I hate it even after 30 minutes, I hate it. So if the time it takes for the run, I hate it all the way through. But other things, like if I go for a walk, I may be tired, I may be, I'm not up for it today. But after a few minutes, I'm like, oh, the sun is out, my dog is having fun, I can talk to my husband, then it's good. So I know that there's resistance to go out of the comfort zone, but you should feel a shift very early on. And if not, if you can't find anything where you won't find the shift, you need to do inner work. You need to see what's blocking me. Why is there not anything that I like? So it's very fast. And also when you begin acting on stuff, things should shift and you should create results very fast. And if not, you should tweak something. So the universe will give us constant feedback, and it's very fast. And we always know whether something's good for us or not. It's just a matter, do we allow that? Do we allow things to be that good? When I'm in a 5-star hotel, I can tell in my body, it's good. I like it. I love it. There's luxury, there's service, things are good. So I should do more of that. But it took me a little bit of time to allow myself to be in a space like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You talk to my heart. It's so great.
Good. Perfect. That seems to be the theme today, that I'm speaking to people's hearts. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Can I just add something on shifts and feeling? I was just, while you were talking, I was just thinking that since we started the call, I just feel well-being, you know, and I feel beautiful, nice energy and like beauty. I feel beauty. And I have just right now a quick jump to your homepage, and it's just beautiful, you know. So I think you're an expression in all your ways, wherever you do what you say, what your intentions are, of well-being and beauty.
Yes.
And that is what people feel, and I think that's why they love to connect with you. And I can understand why people honor that and give a value to that, because I would like to have a newsletter from you once a month that I actually read, and not one that stuff, you know, all that stuff that people bombard you with every day, and you just get fed up because you think, oh God, another one of this. I have someone who sends me every 2 weeks something like, could you just confirm we're not sure if your email works? I mean, how many freaking confirmations do you want to have? You know, it's just making, I don't know, all these marketing techniques that are there kind of to brainwash you somehow. And it is so beautiful to see that that all about you is value, is well-being, and it's beauty, and I just so resonate with that. So thank you.
Well, that's why I created my salon. It's like an online version of beauty. We get to be in our own space, and you know, I have a visual side, and it's my husband's photography. So I don't have to be on the visual side all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But thank you for saying that.
Beautiful. Wow, it looks like you have just spoken straight into people's hearts, Christina. Thank you so much. You are an inspiration to many, and there's so many messages that you shared that, you know, I hope you all take away in a beautiful way to say, again, as you know, find a business structure that works for you, find a way of doing things the way it works for you. Be authentically yourself. Listen to the guidance, and thank you, Herlinda and Sabina and everyone else for asking your questions. Just listen to what resonates with you, what feels right. You will feel it pretty fast, as Christine is saying. Yeah, beautiful. Christine, you want to round it off with some last encouraging words of wisdom to our speaking community here?
I think it comes down to honoring our needs and our wants. If we find that we're not able to do that, to honor what we need and want, then we need to shift and do inner work. And until we're able to, you know, serve ourselves. And, you know, I spent many years wanting for someone to like romanticize me and take me to a beautiful hotel and buy me beautiful stuff, until I realized, you know, I need to be that person. When I honored that inner romantic and I took responsibility for that, then I'm good, you know. So I've taken care of myself now, and I think something so many of us grow up without knowing how to do that, because we weren't taken care of in a way that we needed. So once you understand that about yourself, what are my needs and how can I take care of them, you're like in such a great place. And it's relative, and it's very different for each one of us. What makes us, you know, feel loved? You know, that's a big subject to ask and answer.
Beautiful. Beautifully running off our conversation today. So again, you know, this is another look at what it means to be a speaker, what it means to be an entrepreneur, but it's the real one. It's the authentic one, right? So we need to craft our business and then also our speaking side of our business in a way that it serves us, because when it serves us, it serves everyone else as well, right? And speaking is not only to be out there on stage anymore all the time. I mean, there's so many ways of speaking. Like what you're doing right here, right now is speaking, right? You don't necessarily, like me, like last week, fly into India to speak. You can also just be where you are and touch many people's hearts, minds, and souls and lives being a speaker. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and thank you for each and every one that was here with us today. I hope you are enjoying the beautiful spring and sunshine, and hopefully that gives you another shift of also stepping up with your sharing your voice, sharing your wisdom in ways that it serves you best, so that you can serve your ideal audience and your clients in the best way. And next month again in May we have another amazing call. But before we go, Christine, I know some people might want to have your website link. So do you want to share that in the chat yourself, or do you want me to do it?
You can do it. It's just my name, Christine Eilvig, and then that's.
Is that DK or com?
I have both, but DK is in there.
I have it there already because I looked it up before. Okay. I did put it in the chat.
There you go. Now we have it twice. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to check her out, I know also you have a space on your website where people can sign in and get more information from you, right, going forward, and see how you're doing things and what you're doing. So if you feel called to connect with Christine further, don't miss that opportunity. And Christine, you and I will be in touch, and we'll be in touch, every one of us in the community. So if there's any more questions coming up to Christine or for each other, please use our mySpeakerBusiness community and share your thoughts and insights and learnings also from this session with everyone else. And we look forward to have you back on our next mySpeaker in May. And thank you all. Thank you, Christine, for being here with us. And let's keep going out there and making a difference as speakers, as entrepreneurs, as beautiful souls. Okay? Have a great time, everyone. Until soon.
Bye.
Thank you for this beautiful call. It was very, very inspiring.